Friends, today we are going to take a deep dive into the history, details, and market value of one of the most interesting coins of American numismatic history, the 1965 quarter dollar. This coin may appear simple at first glance, but when we explore its background, its composition, its circulation story, and especially its value in today's collector's market, we discover how fascinating a single piece of metal can be. The 1965 quarter holds a very special place in U.S. coinage history because it marks a turning point, the end of silver coinage and the start of clad coinage, which changed American currency forever. Let us begin from the very roots. Before 1965, quarters in the United States were minted using 90% silver and 10% copper. These silver quarters were highly valued not just as currency, but also for their precious metal content. However, by the early 1960s, the value of silver began to rise sharply. People started hoarding silver coins, melting them for profit, and removing them from circulation. This caused a coin shortage across the country, creating big challenges for the U.S. Mint and the Treasury. In response, in 1965, a major change was made. The silver was completely removed from the quarter. Instead, the Mint introduced the clad composition, a copper-nickel outer layer bonded to a pure copper core. This is the same type of metal mixture still used in quarters today. The 1965 quarter, therefore, represents a milestone. It was the first year of the new clad coinage, and it was produced in massive numbers to meet the demand. One important detail is that these quarters were struck without mint marks, whether they were produced in Philadelphia or Denver. No mint mark was used in 1965. So, if you see a 1965 quarter, it will not have a mint mark. And that is perfectly normal. The lack of mint mark is not an error. It was intentional. Now let us talk about the design. The obverse of the 1965 quarter carries the portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, designed by John Flanagan back in 1932. His profile faces left, and above his head we see the word Liberty. Beneath his chin is the national motto, In God We Trust. At the bottom, we find the date, 1965. On the reverse side, the quarter displays the famous eagle design, with wings spread and perched on a bundle of arrows, framed by two olive branches, symbolizing both strength and peace. The words, United States of America, and quarter dollar, complete the design. Since this was a transitional year, collectors often wonder about possible errors and varieties. Indeed, 1965 quarters have some famous errors, especially transitional errors. For example, a few rare 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets left over from 1964. If you ever come across a 1965 quarter that weighs around 6.25 grams, instead of the standard clad weight of 5.67 grams, that means it could be a silver transitional error coin. Such a coin can be worth thousands of dollars in today's market. Another type of error includes off-center strikes, double strikes, and clipped planchets, which also add significant value. Now, moving to condition. Most 1965 quarters in circulation today are heavily worn, because they were produced in enormous quantities, more than 1.8 billion coins. These circulated examples generally hold only face value, which is 25 cents, since they contain no silver. However, collectors still search for high-grade examples, especially those with sharp details and minimal wear. A coin in average circulated condition may still only bring you around 25 to 50 cents. But when we step into uncirculated grades, the story changes. In mint state 60 condition, a 1965 quarter may sell for around $1 to $2. In mint state 65, it can bring around $5 to $10. In the very highest grades, like mint state 67, the coin can be valued at over $100, sometimes even higher depending on the coin market demand. There are also proof-like specimens and specially struck X. Another fascinating aspect of the 1965 quarter is the broader economic situation of the United States in the mid-1960s. At that time, silver was rising in price due to global demand, industrial uses, and the shrinking supply. People realized that the intrinsic silver content in dimes, quarters, and half dollars was becoming worth more than the face value. This phenomenon, known as Gresham's law, teaches us that when two forms of money circulate together, the one with higher intrinsic value tends to disappear from circulation. That is exactly what happened. By 1964, Americans began hoarding silver coins on a massive scale, pulling them out of circulation, melting them, and selling them for bullion value. This created a nationwide coin shortage that threatened everyday commerce. The U.S. Mint had to act quickly, and the Coinage Act of 1965 was passed. This act authorized the removal of silver from quarters and dimes and reduced the silver content in half dollars. The 1965 quarter was the first result of this new law. Instead of silver, it was struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet, weighing 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a thickness of 1.75 millimeters. The composition is 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. This clad coinage was cheaper to produce, durable, and solved the hoarding problem because people no longer melted them for profit. From a collector's point of view, this transition is crucial. It marks the dividing line between silver-era coinage and modern clad coinage. Some collectors specialize only in pre-1965 silver coins, while others find beauty in collecting both silver and clad examples to tell the complete story of U.S. currency. Now let us turn to the subject of condition with greater detail. Grading plays a massive role in determining the value of a 1965 quarter. For example, in good G4 condition, the coin is heavily worn, but Washington's portrait and date are still identifiable. Value, face value. In fine F12, more details of Washington's hair and the eagle are visible. Value, maybe a few cents above face. In extremely fine XF40, most details are sharp, with only light wear on the high points. Value, under $1. In about uncirculated 050 to 058, slight traces of wear appear only on the highest points. Value, around $1 to $2. In mint state, MS60 and above, no wear is visible, though bag marks may be present. Value increases from a couple of dollars to $10, $50, or even $100 depending on the grade. In gem mint state, MS65 to MS67, the coin is truly premium, with brilliant luster and very few marks. Such coins are rare and highly sought after, often selling for several $100s. Collectors also look for unusual varieties and errors. For the 1965 quarter, the most famous is the transitional silver error. As mentioned earlier, at auction, one of these 1965 silver quarters sold for more than $7,000. Another sold for nearly $6,500. These coins are a reminder to always check your change carefully, because treasures still exist in everyday circulation. Now let us discuss storage and preservation. If you own a 1965 quarter in uncirculated condition, proper storage is essential. Coins should be kept in acid-free holders, such as Mylar flips, hard plastic capsules, or albums designed for numismatic storage. Humidity and fingerprints are the biggest threats to a coin's surface, so always handle coins by the edges and avoid direct skin contact. A coin that is scratched, cleaned improperly, or corroded will lose much of its collector value. As an investment, the 1965 quarter may not seem like a gold mine, but its importance lies in history and errors. Collectors invest in high-grade examples or error coins, hoping that over time, rarity and demand will increase their value. Even for beginner collectors, starting with coins like the 1965 quarter is a good way to learn about grading. History and market trends without spending too much money. The popularity of coin collecting, also known as numismatics, has grown over th.